Hello, everyone. Welcome back to DGS Presents. Today, we're going to go back in time a bit to 1983 to check out the third edition of that granddaddy of all horror RPG games, Call of Cthulhu. Originally released by Chaosium in 1981 and based off of its RuneQuest system, Call of Cthulhu is a simplified, basically percentage system horror game. And it's obviously been hugely influential. I still think it's one of the best RPG games out there. And I thought I would do this episode because we're getting ready to do Chaosium Con in a few weeks. And of course, I'm going to be running a whole bunch of Call of Cthulhu. And with me to talk about this is Michael Brown. How are you,
Hey,
Michael?
I'm doing well. I heard we're going back in time. It's going to be great.
We are, and actually, so here is a picture of the Call of Cthulhu third edition box set, but I actually do have, let me go grab it, a little unboxing video to see what's inside. So let's take a look. Okay, everyone, now here is the Call of Cthulhu third edition box set from 1983. My box is a bit beat up, but everything is actually in here that originally came with the product. So if we look inside, we're going to see this what's in the box sheet, which says you'll get your investigator's book, you'll get your rules, which are your keeper's book, basically, the source book for the 1920s, a world map, investigator sheets, character silhouettes, and 5 dice that actually came with the set. There's a D20, a D8, and 3D6. So see these here. These are the original dice that came with the set. So here we have our investigator book. Everything is in black and white. Right? It's got this red cover, very old school, right? And here we have our keeper's book, which is the rules, right? The core rules for the keeper. And then some really cool stuff in here as well. There's the source book for the 1920s, which contains vehicles, settings. I think there's some monsters in here. There's like train cars, temples. And then we have a world map, which is really cool. It's this big, glossy world map. And there's all kinds of things in here, Antarctica and everything. And then finally, our character silhouettes and our Chaosium little advertisement there at the end.
Yeah,
Now,
well, hold on. What we should do is, because it has the little thing, we should put a stamp on that and mail it to them and see. It's like going back in time, right? It's like 83, so I'm sure that address still works.
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting. Now, Sandy Peterson, the author of this, it is still around. The DGS actually did an interview with him. Chad did an interview with him years ago. I'll try to find that interview. And I'll upload it to our YouTube space so you guys can hear it. It was a pretty good one. I think Chad interviewed him for about an hour to talk to him about the game.
Yeah, it'd be nice of because we have tons and tons and tons of interviews that Chad had done over the years. So it'd be great to get those, put a little images to it, and just have fun with it.
Yeah, so what we're going to do today is we're just going to we're going to do some character creation for this, just to have some fun. And then we're going to talk about basic rules. And then finally, we're going to give a short example of play, a little DGS quickie. So let's start with character creation. Now, this is previous to edition 7 of the book. Of Call of Cthulhu. This is how you would create your character, and you would use these D6 rolls, right? So you have strength, dexterity, intelligence, you have your constitution, you have your appearance, and you have your power, which ties into your magic use. You also have your size and your sanity, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and your education. So all of these, basically, you would roll, like, for instance, 3d6 or 2d6, and then add a modifier to it. Your idea would be a derived attribute, which would be based off your intelligence times 5. An idea roll during the course of the game, it is up to the jurisdiction of the keeper, and the keeper is basically the dungeon master of this game. And And he or she will ask you for an idea roll, basically to determine whether or not you come up with some sort of insight based on your knowledge of a particular subject. It could be like archaeology or private investigations, police procedural work,
Oh,
this kind of
sure.
thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You also obviously have your constitution, your appearance, and like the power I told you about, that's for like magic use. And then you have a luck, which is a luck roll. And so you might get lucky, and that's power times 5. And
Oh, I
your
like
no
getting lucky.
roll, yeah. and, and then your no roll, which is your education times 5. A no roll is more of a deep, like scholarly insight into something, or it's a role based on something that you have seen or experienced before that you can kind of glean from prior experience during the course of the game. Now, your magic points typically start with equal to your power, and your life points, which are like your hit points. They're actually called hit points in some editions of the game, including I think this one, third edition, is your constitution plus your size divided by 2. So that would
Right.
be your life points.
Right. And plus,
And
with the magic, real quick, is not every character is going to have magic because you have to read like these deep, crazy tomes, and you can lose your mind while you read them and all that other fun stuff. But like, if I'm playing a basic cop, I'm not going to have any magic.
right, yeah, you might have the propensity for it at a later date based on your education and based on your
Sure.
power, of course, based on your sanity. And you may have the ability to get magic ultimately in the game, but not right off the bat. Nobody starts with magical spells typically in this game. You have to find ancient tomes or folios or be taught a spell. But we will do that in a separate episode because that's kind of
Sure.
its own thing, and it requires a lot of explanation. You can lose sanity, for instance, reading one of these books. Heaven forbid you get your hands on the Necronomicon, right? You
Oh, yeah,
read
yeah,
through
yeah.
that and you go just totally
Absolutely.
crazy.
Well, what I really liked about the HP mythos and everything like that. So when I read the books when I was younger, and of course I still read them. But he'd always say like, this horror was so beyond your scope, and there's just no way to describe it. And then he would describe it. I'm like, okay,
Sometimes you would describe it, right?
yeah, yeah. I always love that about
Lovecraft.
the writings. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Uh, so your sanity points you start with is your power times 5, and we'll talk about sanity in a moment. And then your memory is your intelligence plus EDU times 2. Now, this is a skill-based system, and you get a certain number of points for gathering up your skills based on your occupation or your job, and that starts at your education level times 15. So you allocate these points into different areas. It may be driving an automobile. It might be shooting a gun. It might be archaeological work. It might be library use. It could be all kinds of different things. And you also have points that you can spend for your other skills, which are outside your occupation, is intelligence times 5. So certain occupations, like a policeman, will have certain fundamental skills or base skills that they will have. But if it's something really weird, you get less points really in that area to spend, right? If it's something like highly unusual for police work, right? You're not going to have like occult knowledge as a cop, really, but you could.
Right, right.
I mean, it's possible.
Well, yeah, as a cop, as you're going deeper and deeper into trying to solve a crime, you might be exposed to this really, really odd things, and kind of gives you the creeps. But you're kind of drawn into it because you're an investigator. You want to, or a police officer. You want to, get all the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. And that's the fun thing about this game is that it just leads you down this tunnel, and the deeper you go, especially with sanity, it's just like your brain just cannot. You're overwhelmed by it, and it's a
Right.
lot of fun. So anyway,
Now, you also have your personal income. I found this in one of the later supplements, and this is just really like a dollar amount, annual dollar amount in the 1920s based on your occupation. So, for instance, if you're an archaeologist, you make like $1,600 a year. You can use this as a handy guide for income. I think in the third edition rules I looked through there, I didn't see this particular chart in there as a little bit arbitrary what your income is supposed to be.
Sure, sure.
But you can use this. So go ahead and screen cap this, or I'll put it in the show notes. Now, the rules, if we get back to the basic rules here,
yes,
this system, again, it's a largely a percentile based system. So for instance, if you have 30% in archaeology, you would roll, if you're trying to conduct archaeology, you would roll a percentile die, and if it's under a 30 or meets a 30, you are successful in your die roll. Now, there's also something called the resistance table. And if you guys remember back in, I don't know, it's a couple months ago, I had an episode of the DGS where I talked about my favorite rule system or my favorite specific rule mechanics. The resistance table was one of them. And this is pre-7th edition Call of Cthulhu. And I think this is like one of the best things ever created. I'm surprised they actually took it out for later editions, because this is a really useful way that the keeper can determine whether or not you're successful at doing something that isn't really explicit in the rules. So let's say, for instance, you're trying to open up a door that's stuck. That's the example in the book. Well, what kind of door is it? And what kind of lock is on it? I mean, is it a reinforced oak door? Or is it simply like a door, like a rotting door to a barn? Like how tough is this door? Well, what you would do is you would take the active characteristic at the top there, which could be the strength of the character, and you're going to compare it to the passive characteristic, which is the strength of the door. So let's say, for instance, the investigator, in this case the character, has a strength of 6, and the door has a resistance of 4. If you look where the numbers meet, the 6 and the 4, we see 60, which means you have a 60% chance of forcing that door open. This can be used in all kinds of scenarios for trying to walk on ice, or climb up craggy peaks, interactions with other characters. It all kinds of things can be done using the resistance table. So
yeah, now that would be a percentile roll. So you would want to roll what? Under or over the 60%?
Under.
Okay.
Yes, this is all under standard stuff. You'll see too here, there's a range of automatic success up there on the right and a range of automatic failure on the left, right? Okay. There's certain things that just are either going to be impossible or totally easy, right? Just routine.
So they weren't interested in THAC0, which even to this day, I don't understand. And I've played 2nd edition like forever, never understood how that works. I understand how this works. That's why it's great. Now, of course, I am slightly a dullard, but that's just me.
Yeah, we'll save THAC0 for another episode. We'll discuss that.
Yes. We're going to have an episode about why I'm such a idiot. So yeah, that's going to be a great one. I can't wait to do that.
Right. So here's an example of a character, and this is one that Michael is going to be using in his tiny little adventure that we're going to do. And also, Michael, if you want to pull up, ultimately pull that adventure up, not quite yet, but soon. We'll see here we have, it's Eric John Keene, right? He's like a petty criminal, kind of like last episode, right? You're a petty criminal this time, and you'll see his
pretty criminal.
Pretty criminal, yeah. You see his attributes up there. He has like an intelligence of 15, right? Power of 9. Cthulhu Mythos score, you're really only going to get that when you are exposed to creatures from the mythos, or heaven forbid, deities from the mythos, right? You'll get it, and when you get that, you lose sanity in the process. You see, for instance, all of his skills here. And some skills have basic ratings. So certain things you may be able to do if you're not trained. Other things you have to be trained in them, or you start with, like, for instance, like a 0, right? They're just it's something that you're not going to have normally, or it might be very, very tiny. So if you look here on this sheet, right? For instance, disguise looks like he has what, like 61 in disguise. He's pretty good at disguising himself. Dodge, if he's trying to dodge attacks from firearms or arrows or something like that.
Sure.
Fast talk, so he's got what, like 65 in fast talk there. 20 in first aid. So again, all percentile based, very simple. And again, he allocates these skills depending on his occupation. In this case, his occupation is a criminal. Right.
Right.
Then he's going to have some combat related skills and for instance, firearms there at the bottom. We'll allocate him a firearm a little bit later. Now, during the course of the adventure, you are going to encounter things that are truly horrible, and you may lose sanity. This is the famous mechanic within the game. Insanity loss comes from a few things. Encountering mythos monsters or supernatural entities. You can certainly lose sanity from that.
Sure.
Seeing something shocking or horrible. And coming across, like, for instance, like a disemboweled body or a suicide victim or it's something really awful.
Right. Out of the ordinary.
Exactly. And of course, as we talked about a minute ago, reading certain books or when attempting to learn and use certain spells, you could also lose sanity points from. Now, sanity in this game basically comes in two different flavors. The first flavor is shock and temporary insanity. Now, if an investigator loses 5 or more sanity points in a single encounter, he or she must roll a D100 idea check. So if we look back here at Michael's sheet, it says his idea is 75. So let's say Michael encounters something so bad that he loses enough sanity that he has to make one of these idea rolls. So if he rolls a percentile and it's under 75, he fully realizes the horrific nature and the terrible realization or
Right.
truth of what he's actually witnessing, right? This is, and from there, he suffers temporary insanity. So this will basically, if I go back to this other slide here, it says temporary insanity timetable. So you would then roll a 1d10 and you would see how long you go insane for. So if you roll, for instance, between a 5 and a 7, you are unhinged essentially
Yes.
for 1 to 10 minutes. Some of the typical sanity loss things that we see on the table to the lower table here is, surprised by a corpse, waking up in a tomb or a coffin, right? That waking up in a tomb, that you're gonna have to roll 1d6 sanity loss for that. Or witnessing a bizarre occurrence, right? The sky turns green, 1d10. But if you're tortured or you see something really crazy, like a gigantic bloody head falling from the sky, right, you're going to suffer 1d10 sanity loss, and you could definitely go temporarily insane at that point.
Yeah. Is there a also in the book there is a listing of what happens to you if you go like insane? Like you could be there's one where you go a little insane and you start wanting to eat things that are like dirt or just things or
Yeah, so
stuff. It's great.
that gets into actually there's permanent insanity, and there's actually a table for that. So indefinite insanity or permanent insanity, if an investigator loses 20% or more of his or her sanity in a single game hour, automatic insanity results. And there is, I apologize, a little tough to read, but here is a slide which indicates the types of indefinite or really serious long-standing insanity you could suffer from. So you would roll a d6 and you could get, for instance, catatonia or amnesia. You have paranoia here, and then you have phobias. So you see there's all these different types of phobias in here. Like, obviously, claustrophobia is a common one, but there might be entomophobia. I think that's what insects. You're terrified of insects.
Well, who isn't? Just in general.
Yeah, so this is like indefinite insanity, and to recover from this is going to require like extensive treatment in the sanitarium, and that could be an adventure in of itself, right?
Oh
Could
yeah.
run into the Joker. I don't know. It could end up in
You never
Arkham.
know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You never know. I mean, it's just such a fun system. And of course, while you're playing it, if you happen to get this temporary insanity as a PC, you kind of have to play it up a little bit. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we've had a lot of fun adventures or and writing adventures for this system called Cthulhu and whatnot. And it's just a lot. It's so unpredictable, which is really really great. I really really like the system because of
Yeah,
that.
and speaking of that, Michael, if you want to go ahead and share your screen
Oh yeah.
for the little quickie adventure we have, we will demonstrate how this actually works. So here we have Michael's petty criminal, and he has been dispatched by his mob boss, okay, Lucky Luciano, to go to just north of Innsmouth Harbor, Massachusetts. And there it's 1926, and Prohibition is at its height. And he is supposed to pick up a shipment of illicit liquor that's been
Ooh.
brought down from Nova Scotia. There's a boat, basically a large ship, that's off of the coast of Innsmouth, and from that ship, a small speedboat is dispatched to the coast with a shipment of liquor on it, and they're supposed to be another mobster on that boat. So Michael's supposed to go down to the beach. It's late night. There's some, misty. There's a little bit of fog. It's deathly quiet. The waves are kind of lapping at the shore, rolling in. You don't hear anything. But once he gets down to the beach and he walks across the kind of sandy taupe surface and rocky shoal over to the boat, which comes sliding in silently, he is shocked to discover that when he looks into the boat, which the motor is still running, is at this point the outboard motor. He looks at the boat and he discovers that the mobster that was supposed to meet up with him is at the bottom of the boat with his chest completely torn open,
Oh,
right? And
jeez.
his guts and his intestines are basically pouring out all over the bottom of the boat. And the mobster has this look of utter horror and shock on his face, as if he experienced some sort of torture or some sort of horrible experience, which clearly he did. So what we're going to do there, Michael, is let's go ahead and roll for sanity. So give me a percentile roll.
All right, here we go. Yeah, this is quite unsettling, but let me see if I can handle it. 45.
Okay, you make it.
Ah.
So you're taken aback, and you pull out your pistol, and you're shocked. You're like, oh my god, right? And the liquor is in the boat, right? You
Oh,
see,
good.
there's like 3 cases, crates of Canadian whiskey, right, from Nova Scotia. They're in the boat, but so is this body. And
Well,
before you can even react,
okay.
something else happens. You see some sort of shuffling or some sort of movement off to your left, and suddenly, out from the actual water,
Oh, Jesus.
comes this humanoid creature. This horrible kind of reptilian fish-like creature comes out of the shoal and confronts you.
All right. Well, I'm going to see. Now, I've never seen anything like, so I'm going to have to do another
Here it is.
sanity roll on this because
You
this
are
is
going to have to do a sanity roll. Yes. So it
highly
says for this
unusual.
guy, it's so for the rules, it says that if you make it, you lose 0. If you miss, you lose 1d6. So go ahead and roll again. So you got a 20, right? Or no? Oh, 74.
74.
You made your sanity roll.
All right.
Right? Because you had sanity of 75, right?
Yeah, I'm
So
hard as
you do make
nail.
it. In your shock,
All right.
this thing comes like shambling out of the water
All
at
right.
you.
Well, I have a do I have a shotgun or a pistol?
You
on
have
me?
a pistol. Let's give you there is a firearms table, but what I'm going to do is instead of flipping away from it. Okay, it go look at your firearm skill, which I think is what, 55?
Let's see.
It's on the bottom right hand of your sheet. It should tell you what
Yeah,
your
there's
skill is in firearms or
the
handguns
firearm.
or that kind of thing.
Yeah, it for a firearm handgun, I think that one is that 55.
Yes, handgun 55.
All right.
So go ahead and shoot at him.
All right. I'm going to shoot at it. Let me go ahead and add this back. Okay, so I'm going to shoot, and of course, it's another percentile.
It is.
And we're going to roll. So I'm going to 29.
Okay, you hit him.
All right.
It is not an impale. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in the rules is there is a kind of like a critical hit option here. It's called an impale. An impale happens when you hit somebody with a roll that's under a fifth of what you needed to hit your target. So, for instance, in this case, if your skill is 55, if you roll under an 11, it's an impale and you will do double damage. But in this case, you hit him, but you do not do an impale. So go ahead and roll 1d6 for me. All right, so you do, it's a 1d6 plus 3, so it's 6 damage to the creature, but he does have some armor. And he is able to shake some of that off. And to make matters worse, you see another one of these creatures appear off to your right.
Jesus. Oh, no.
And he moves in to confront you. So there's another guy, and these are deep ones. Rising from the coast because the stars are right, and it's Innsmouth, and it's midnight. And you shouldn't be there.
Okay, now I wouldn't have to roll again for sanity because I've already been exposed. Well, this looks complicated. So is there a chance I can grab at least one crate of the liquor and then make a beeline out of the scenario?
There is, but not after they get a chance to attack you, which they're going to do right now. I'm just going to roll physical dice here, and that is a hit. So they have claw 25%, and he rolled a 25. And it is go ahead and give me a 1d6 plus 6 roll, Michael.
Okay, yeah, I was just looking at my my hit points. All right.
So 1d6 plus 6.
Okay, here we go. Well, I'll just roll this, and so 11.
So you take 11 damage. So if you go back to your sheet, how many life points do you have?
Let's see. Oh man. All right, where's my life points at?
It says hit points. So you have 14.
Oh man.
You lose most of, and this other creature comes up and
he totally wrecked me.
22.
Oh.
Go ahead and roll a d6.
Oh, this is not good. And plus 6?
Yes.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's all over Shakespeare. Show's over, Shakespeare. Yeah,
So the next morning, the people in nearby Gloucester, Massachusetts, were walking up the beach and enjoying the beautiful sunrise right over the Atlantic Ocean, are shocked to find these two bodies like completely ripped apart, and there's just like bottles of whiskey like floating in the surf and just like a totally destroyed boat.
So now they have to roll for sanity as well, right?
They would, yeah. And probably, definitely, that'd be pretty horrifying to encounter, right?
Well, and that's the cool thing about Call of Cthulhu, because we're basically playing mortals against these elder creatures and whatnot. So me being eviscerated on the beach is pretty common because there's not much you can do about it. I remember one time we were playing, you were running a Call of Cthulhu, and I think because my experience with D&D, you go in there and you just take care of business. Well, I got killed pretty quickly. I'm like, oh, that's not how you have to be a little bit more careful about
You
about.
do. And typically, like, if you encounter a cultist or something like that, they're pretty easy to deal with. They're human,
Oh, sure, sure,
right? A witch
regular people.
doctor or something like that. But
Oh
if you
yeah,
encounter like a gug or a deep one, or
sure.
a Bayaki or something like that. I mean, we'll talk about all the monsters and stuff in a later
Oh yeah,
episode.
yeah.
But
We'll
uh,
do a
if
thing.
you encounter one of those and they hit you, it's deadly and it's devastating. In some cases, you can't hit them. You may need
Right.
magic to deal with them. So it's like that funny Pastor Haster song, right? I'm running from the Gugs, right? He's all confident he's going to go get the Gugs, and he finds out how bad they are. They're just running from the Gugs,
Right,
right?
right.
One thing I forgot to mention, we could do it right now, is you asked me about the temporary insanity table, right? The
Yes.
one I presented earlier was the permanent indefinite, but there's a temporary insanity table. So let's say this woman's enjoying the sunrise and she comes up upon this boat and sees these disemboweled, ripped to shreds bodies. And she goes temporarily insane and she rolls a 2, which would be flees and panic, right?
Right.
Or if she fails and she rolls a 6, it would be homicidal or suicidal mania. So all kinds of crazy things can happen in
Oh
this
yeah,
game.
absolutely. It's just like, do they have a role for soiling, like soiling yourself before you run away in panic?
I don't see. Oh, let's see.
You have to add that.
I don't see it, but yeah, it could be somewhere in here. I don't know, but I don't
Uh,
see it on the list.
where? Yeah. Oh, look at this. Yeah. I'm shaving my
Right.
head, by the way, Colin. So next time you see me, I'll have no hair.
Yeah. Okay. That'll be shocking.
The
Yeah.
the Crystal Gale look is over.
Okay. So you're
It's
gonna go for the
over.
concentration camp look. Okay.
Well, yeah,
But
sure. Why
let's.
not?
So yeah. So that is a quick introduction to old school Call of Cthulhu. Again, there's a newer system now. It's 7th edition. It's more opposed roles based. This is a little more chart based, a little more old school, but again, I like this edition better. I think it's
Oh yeah.
easier to run. It's super elegant. It's so much fun. It perfectly the game system perfectly melds with the atmosphere
Oh sure.
of
Well,
the
I mean,
setting.
what makes the rule system so great is because it is pretty simple. I mean, it's pretty straightforward stuff. And of course, when later they just added more and more and more and more to it. It's just like, yeah, sometimes you don't need to. It's like if you got a perfect system, just leave it as is. Now, of course, I know they have to sell books and
True.
whatnot. So,
Yeah. Now you have some anniversary editions of the books, right?
oh yeah, I'm right here. So, we got this one. Now, I know they just released a new one. So, basically, this is. I mean, it's
That's the
just
20th, right?
yeah. This
That's
is
the one I have.
yeah, yeah. We both
That's the
have this
20th
one, and
anniversary
then they
edition.
released another one, and so this is the brown one, the Call of Cthulhu, as well. And I
That the
know they have
30th?
a new one out for the 50th anniversary. Now I haven't picked that one up yet. I don't know if I will, only because I mean these are definitely out of print stuff, um, like we do. But the newest one is just like, okay, they're still using that rule set. But here's the best Call of Cthulhu rule set. Here it is. Watsy.
No, no.
Call of Cthulhu. Ah!
Yeah. Well, we will talk about that one in a later episode. That's the D20 Cthulhu. And it actually is a really good game.
Yeah.
It is good, but we'll talk about that one in a later
Well,
date.
like my Call of Cthulhu games, I based everything on the D20 system because I think I have how many books? I have 2, 4, I have 6 of them up there. I just kind of like it, and no one plays it, so that's why I like doing the D20 Call of Cthulhu. For my
It is
Sesame
totally
Street game,
obscure.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I just do it because I think it's silly and fun. Anyway,
Right.
it's a good system.
And as for Lovecraftian stories and everything to read for college, I mean, obviously you can read all of them Ones that I personally love and recommend would be The Hound. That
Oh
short
yeah,
story is awesome. That's a really crazy short story. I've those the novella or short story Call of
sure.
Cthulhu itself is a good one. Case of Charles Dexter Ward is another good one. And then yeah, what is it? The
Oh, got the Mountains
Dunwich
of
Horror.
Madness. Oh yeah,
Dunwich
the
Horror,
Dunwich
yeah,
Horror.
the
Yeah.
Mountains of Madness, yeah, all
Yes.
that stuff. So
Actually, I think that's my favorite, The Mountains of Madness. Now, I didn't prepare for this, but I had bought the basically I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it's the Mountain of Madness in a little like container. When you open it up,
oh
there's
yeah,
articles and like stones and stuff. I'll have to bring that next time we do another call. I'll bring that out. I had bought that God, 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, but
it
it's
is
really,
cool.
really
I mean,
neat.
it'd be great to use it in an adventure setting, like a
Oh yeah, it's
campaign,
great. I
for sure.
so yeah, it's like and what I like about Cthulhu, you can bring in props when you're running the games. Now, of course, I do like the Sesame Street, uh, Nightmare on Sesame Street, and whatnot for the Call of Cthulhu, but it's just fun doing Cthulhu in yeah, just in the settings. I think what we're going to do a Three's Company Call of Cthulhu adventure pretty soon, right? Yeah, I need to write that one.
Sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's my next adventure I want to write.
yeah, so anyway, so yeah, this, like I said, the short intro to old school Cthulhu. We'll probably do a magic episode, maybe to follow up on this one. And pretty soon too, we're going to get more into Chaosium stuff, and we're going to talk about Thieves World, well, BRP Thieves World system. But
Yes.
that's coming up, and I'd like to get that in the can before Chaosium Con because I'm going to be in the full Chaosium mood for all of this. But in any case, thanks everyone for stopping by. Please like and subscribe if you like this stuff. We got a lot of good stuff coming up, and we will see everyone in the next episode. Bye bye.